Yo, this is before the days of, Skype and I remember, yeah, there was no Skype then. There was definitely no Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram. I was trying to explain this to someone, and someone was like, you do understand that I was me before social media happened, right? So, and I feel like we live in this age now where people try to understand you through the lens of social media. So, if I find out about you today, I think your life started today. And we become such a lazy generation that people don't read. So people don't actually go back and go, where did this person start from and where did they come from? Anyway, so I started this business called Global Professional South Africa. Great business. And I had like a roster of friends of mine. Some of them I went to high school with who were like, yo, man, I'm looking for something to do in the UK. So I hit up friends of mine who were living in the UK. And I was like, how do I get into the employment ecosystem? And then what happened is they connected me to some recruitment firms. Guys, this is back in the day when having an email. If you had an email, if you had an email, you were dangerous. You were dangerous. So I get myself an email, and my mom had bought me this like Alcatel phone, like tiny little Alcatel phone. I got myself an email, and every day for 3 hours, I would go from Wattville, and I'd go to Benoni town. Wattville would drop me off on Princess Avenue in Benoni. Then I'd walk a couple of blocks to get to the internet cafe, and for like 3 hours, because I remember it was like 7 rand or something like that per hour at the internet cafe. And so I just had enough money for 3 hours every day because my mom used to give me some money. And then I'd answer all these emails very quickly, send out more emails, and I was just like looking for opportunities for people to get work. And you know what? It worked. Like some of the guys I was recommending for jobs actually got jobs, right? And I must confess, it didn't work because I was a particularly good business person. I didn't even have a website back in those days. It worked because I had an amazing support structure. Amazing support structure. So kind of at the back of this, I meet a guy who runs a company. At the time, the company's name was called Digital Mall. And I went and joined the company and, kind of pulled my own little business into that environment. And that was kind of my first foray in business. That was literally 16 years ago. So I think a part of the stuff that what people don't often understand is I share what I share because I've kind of had 16 years of accumulating it. And I've had 16 years of accumulating it because I've had people in my life who gave me the opportunity to be in the room to learn the things I needed to learn, right? I promise you now, there are people who don't even know about the Global Professionals South Africa story, right? And I made terrible mistakes, by the way, running GPSA, which is why it kind of folded. But I made terrible mistakes. Stuff like basic mistakes that many business people make. Like I didn't understand distribution. I didn't understand marketing and advertising. I didn't understand what is called CAC, customer acquisition cost. I didn't understand how to build strong legal contracts so you could protect yourself. Just basic stuff. Like I didn't understand basic stuff. I was just like really excited to be a businessman. Yeah, a businessman. And one time Soweto even came to interview me at the Digital Mall offices in Sandton. Yeah. The headline said businessman. I was like, yeah, no kifitli. I'm a businessman. I was broke, but I was a businessman. So there's a reason I'm telling you this. Over the years, I had the opportunity to work in kind of the HR recruitment space, left that, worked in tech and technology, spent 5 years of my life working in tech and technology. Back when the what is today the World Wide Web was the World Wide Wait. Back in those days. Like when YouTube was a novelty. I remember those days, right? Before YouTube was bought by Google, back in those days, right? When you had your ADSL dial-up line. That's back in the days when I worked in tech back in the days when what today we call cloud was called Web 2.0. People watching this who are in tech know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So then I spent 5 years there, left, and I spent 6 years in corporate finance, and I had easily my biggest growth spurt came when I spent that time in corporate finance. Then I spent an additional five years, say, in kind of the wholesale retail space. But whilst I was doing all of this, I was always speaking. And so I think that a part of the challenge people have in trying to understand VT is people think I'm a speaker because that's the stuff you're exposed to. They were not really exposed to everything else that I've been doing kind of in the middle. But over the years, building businesses, now having sold a business, I've learned a couple of things, and it's going to help you with the question that you've asked, man.